Welcome, everyone. I am Natasha Daniel, the Manager of Workforce Development at Efficiency Canada. Thank you so much for joining us for this special DiscoverEE session in celebration of Indigenous History Month. I'm facilitating today from Tkaronto, also known as Toronto, and this name comes from the Mohawk word Tkaronto, meaning the place in the water where the trees are standing. And this name refers to the wooden stakes used as fishing weirs by the Haudenosaunee and the Huron-Wendat peoples in our local waterways. And as we gather here today, Indigenous Peoples Day is tomorrow. I invite you to really reflect on how many of the roads we travel today follow the original Indigenous portage trails, paths that were used for thousands of years before us. It's a powerful metaphor for the work we're doing in energy and energy efficiency. We are walking a path that's long been guided by the deep knowledge, innovation, and sustainability practices of Indigenous communities across Turtle Island. And something that just came to me right now, if we feel like our contribution is making a Indigenous land statement, or simply before we have our webinars or when we gather, if we say, okay, yes, I would like to do a land acknowledgement now. And if that's as far as our service and our gratitude goes to First Nations communities, then I urge you today to do better and to enact and create actions that go along with your land acknowledgement, so that the way that we appreciate Indigenous culture is not something that's in a museum, or not something that we're saying, okay, thank you so much for this amazing past you've given us, but it's being immersed in the amazing present that Indigenous communities are contributing to in terms of our environment, in terms of our economy, and in terms of our culture, right? So for those of you who are joining us here for the first time today, Efficiency Canada hosts DiscoverEE sessions every 2 weeks. These gatherings bring together amazing people working in or curious about the energy efficiency space so that we can share knowledge, highlight innovations, and explore emerging topics, research, and grassroots projects. Today, we are very proud to launch a powerful new feature in our Day in the Life campaign. And this series really lifts up real people working in real energy efficiency jobs across Canada. And this one in particular holds a deep personal connection for us. In celebration, of course, of Indigenous History Month, we're honored to share a conversation between two remarkable leaders. Nikki Muswaggon, an electrical apprentice with Cross Lake Housing and member of Cross Lake First Nation in Northern Manitoba, and Brandi Ferenc, a licensed HVAC mechanic and founder of Fair Trades Toolbox. Nikki began her career in science before stepping into the trades. With certifications in fiber optics and IT, she applies her skills to strengthen Indigenous infrastructure and clean energy solutions across the province of Manitoba. She's a powerful advocate for Indigenous youth and community-led progress. This story, and Nikki's story, is especially close to our hearts right now. In 2024, we traveled to Cross Lake First Nation to film Nikki's Day in the Life video. And we were welcomed with so much warmth for the work that we were doing. And now in 2025, wildfires have devastated parts of Northern Manitoba, and it's also affected Cross Lake. In fact, over 8,000 residents have been impacted, and 500 essential workers continue to hold the line, keeping systems running amid a nearby 1,200 hectare blaze. Today brings a hopeful update in that residents of Cross Lake are now starting to return to their community. Facilitating with us today is also Brandi Ferenc, a force in Canada's trade sector, a licensed 313A refrigeration and air conditioning mechanic and certified gas fitter 1. Brandi is also an instructor, a mentor, and the founder of Fair Trades Toolbox, where she's helping the next generation thrive, especially women and equity-deserving folks in skilled trades. Together, Nikki and Brandi will dive into how caregivers, into how careers in energy efficiency and caregivers and the trades are helping building more resilient communities, and how women are leading this work with strength, skill, and a deep commitment to those who come next. These two speakers right now are literally in full swing. Brandi right now is joining us as she's volunteering at a camp for women in trades in a place where there's no Wi-Fi. Nikki has also just been volunteering and helping those on the front lines of the wildfires. So thank you again amidst such busy schedules. Thank you for joining us. We're absolutely honored to have you both with us today. And we're so lucky that you've made the time for this when you're doing so much work on a grassroots level. Thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much. Take it away.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna start off. I don't see Nikki yet, but I'm assuming Nikki's coming in. There you are. Nikki, you started in science and ended up working in the electrical trade. Then you left and you did project management, leading initiatives across 48 Indigenous communities. And now you're back. So you're pursuing your Red Seal. What drew you back to becoming an electrician after a successful career? And what can you do in the electrical environment that you can't do anywhere else?
When I started my career rooted in science, it was driven by curiosity on how things work. That naturally evolved into the electrical trades where I could apply that curiosity in hands-on practical ways. After stepping away and leading large-scale initiatives in project management, and especially across the 48 Indigenous communities that I assist with in Manitoba, I gained valuable experience in leadership, strategy, and collaboration with multiple like vendors and like councils, travel councils, and everywhere in the government. But I found myself missing the tangible problem-solving aspect of electrical work. It, so that's what drew me back to pursue my
Yeah.
red seal.
Mhm.
Wasn't just a desire to complete what I started, but it's a realization that that electrical work gives me something unique. It gave me the ability to fix in real time, to literally bring power and functionality to the communities. There was a sense of immediate impact in the trade that you don't get in project management, which drew me back.
Yeah.
In the electrical environment, I get to blend precision and creativity and my physical skill in a way that connects directly into people's everyday lives, which is like something that I was looking forward to. I think that's
Yeah.
powerful. So that's what
Yeah.
really drew me back in.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Uh, okay, Brandi, you've been certified for over 20 years. You also started university in a completely different field, which is like work drew us in the same direction. So what brought you back to this work, and what would you say are the biggest challenges in HVAC systems today, especially as we move forward towards net zero buildings and undergo an aging workforce?
Yeah, I really only went to university because my parents told me I had to. I didn't know what I wanted to do in high school. I mean, who knows what they want for their lives at 17, 18 years old. But I did what I was told, and I gave my parents their very expensive degree. And I took off and worked in a bar for 13 years. And for me, coming to the trades was this no brainer. I found it by, I knew I didn't want to go to the same building every day. I was never going to sit at a desk. It'll probably be hard for me to sit still in my car for 45 minutes. And I wanted to do something like different where I wouldn't be replaced by technology, that I'd have a career that would grow with technology. And I wanted to make that contribution. And just one day, the proverbial light bulb hit me. And I was like, yeah, like, why can't I be in the trades? Just because it was never presented to me as an option as a female, although I came from a blue collar family. But it's one of those things where I look back now and the only regret is that I didn't get to start 10 years sooner, right? Which I'm sure a lot of people feel. And I feel like I'm in this really great pocket of time for HVAC because with us wanting to go greener and we have an aging population, we have an opportunity to make a difference. So one of the things on the greener scale is that obviously we're getting into heat pump technology here in Canada. So it's been around forever, but it never really worked well for us in a colder climate. But now technology luckily has caught up to our equipment. So heat pumps are now becoming something that's almost going to be a niche market for HVAC installers and people that service it. HVAC is this big broad field, right? Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. It actually is three trades rolled up into one acronym. So we really are looking to the next generation to take the bull by the horns, as they say, and actually get these HVAC systems installed. The heat pumps actually they generate 3 times as much energy as they consume. They don't use any fossil fuels, so that's a huge bonus. And there's a lot of other parts if we get into building automation and smart thermostats and things like that, that can really help make that happen. And as we're getting into that aging population, that's why I said earlier, we're looking to that next generation to really grab a hold of this new technology. I love learning new things, even as I've gotten older, but sometimes I realize that technology is scary for someone that's done something the same way all the time. As we're bringing in that next generation, that's really where my work with Fair Trade's Toolbox is trying to bridge that gap for employers to bring in equity deserving groups and actually get them into the workforce so that their senior technicians can pass down the knowledge that they have. But we always find like someone that's new and hungry in the trades, they want to learn the new stuff, right? So they're the ones that we're hoping will really start to make some of this green technology just come to life for our trade.
Awesome.
So Nikki, as an Indigenous working woman on housing infrastructure in the Indigenous communities, what are the most common electrical issues and where do you think energy efficiency could make a difference?
As an woman working in the housing infrastructure with Indigenous communities, one of the most common electrical issues that I see is outdated or non-code compliant wiring. Many homes still have knob and tube or aluminum wiring. They also have like limited breaker capacity and then overloaded circuits as well, especially with the growing use of modern appliances. There's a lack of regular inspections or even maintenance, often due to underfunding as well. So that's like the biggest
Yeah,
thing was underfunding and limited access to qualified electricians. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to go back into the field and go home and like work in my community. But I think
mhm,
that energy efficiency could make a huge difference, not just in lowering monthly costs, but also in improving the safety and comfort of the people living in those houses. I think that some simple upgrades like LED lighting,
yeah,
thermostats, and energy efficiency appliances could reduce the load of old systems, especially. But beyond
yeah,
that, investing in better insulation, solar integration, I'm just gonna keep saying that solar integration, better insulation, just kind of better building of the house, and then also updated electrical panels could create a long-term saving and healthier living environment for these people, for the people living in the houses. It is
yeah.
also about empowering communities with infrastructure that lasts and support self-sufficiently for like years to come. So yeah, I think that's something that could happen. I'm just hoping for that in the next couple of like 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah. So you train HVAC students who are
Yeah.
walking into the rapidly changing field. Where do you think we're falling short in preparing the workforce for clean energy transition, especially when it comes to heat pumps and newer technologies?
Yeah, I think one of the most frustrating things as an instructor is that it's really our hands are tied on a lot of it. Curriculums I find are outdated. Our labs are grossly underfunded as well. So we don't have new technology to teach new technology. As an instructor, though, I find that I try to bring that to the classroom anyway, whether it's in there or not. We have to talk about the old stuff because as you go through an apprenticeship trade school and then eventually you want to write that certificate of qualification, right? You want to write that, you want to be the journey person. And a lot of what we teach has to be geared towards taking a test, right? It's you
Yeah.
need to know this so you can pass the test. So unfortunately, that's where we would like to see updates in the curriculum that reflect our changing landscape of this trade, right? Especially when it comes to heat pumps are a big one, VRFs, variable refrigerant flow systems. They're a huge money saver as well. Smart building technology, HRVs, all of those good things are things I think that we need to lean more heavily on as an instructor. And that's where I feel like sometimes we fall short. So I really like to stay in the mix with my students. And luckily, I've got a good relationship with some that when they get out there working in the field, they'll bounce stuff back and they'll be like, yeah, you know what I worked on today, Brandi? And I'll be like, tell me about it. Tell me. And then that's something we can take to the people that do have the ability to change the curriculum, maybe update some of the policies and all that good stuff. And we can help to make that change, right? That's where we're falling short. And the other part I'll say that we're falling short is we're falling short with the ability to get them jobs. So unfortunately, we hear about this critical labor shortage, but my inbox, my DMs, they blow up every week with people that are qualified to work in these spaces, but employers won't hire them. So there's like an employer training that needs some employer education that needs to be done there as well. So that not only do we need employers to take on these equity deserving groups, but we need them to take hold of that new technology as well. So I find my trade is still a little bit stuck. I like to think I electrical. I definitely think you guys are moving a little bit ahead of the curve for HVAC. So we're trying to catch up to you, Nikki. We're trying to catch up.
Okay.
Is there a tool or a trade secret or some piece of advice that you wish someone had told you early on that's been crucial as an Indigenous woman working in the field?
Yeah, for sure. I wish someone had told me earlier that it's okay to take up space, especially in a male-dominated field or colonial systems, especially that my voice and perspective and presence are obviously needed. It can feel that sometimes I feel like I had to shrink myself to try fit in, but now that I don't have to feel like that. But the truth is the strength that I have to carry forward with my identity and for my community and for what the lived experience is like something that they can't take away from me. And I think that's one of the greatest superpowers that I can have. But yes, the one thing that I can say is don't dim yourself down and just build on that and just keep moving forward with your career.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would give some advice on?
Yeah, I feel like if I could go back to my younger self, there's a lot of that of being really timid. And for a long time, I think everyone made me feel grateful that I even had a job. And so when I was in a bad situation and it was a bad place for me to be in, I stuck it out for way too long without thinking that, hey, like I could go work somewhere else. I don't need to stay here. But for some reason, 15 years ago, the Brandi that was 15 years ago was just made to just feel grateful that somebody threw me this bone and I was like, okay, I'll just stick it out. And
Yeah.
that obviously tends to wear on you for a while. And it's a long road back, as you well know, Nikki, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, just thinking that if someone doesn't appreciate you out there, if they don't appreciate what you bring to the table and the value that you bring, then somebody else will. Right. You don't need to stay there. And I think that's a big deal. So I wish I would have had that confidence and that foresight to make moves, especially as an apprentice. I feel like working for different companies is a good thing because you gain a lot of different valuable experience. And you never know where you might find your fit. And also looking for that external support. I don't think enough of us do that. We internalize it and we keep it to ourselves. And I think it's healthy for us to reach out and say, yeah, to whoever your support group is and to be able to lean on people and let them know you had a bad day and let them know you might need a little bit of a pep talk, right? I think that would have been something I wish I would have done more of in my earlier days. This moment is deeply personal, especially for you. Wildfires are impacting Cross Lake right now. Nikki, Efficiency Canada filmed your professional story last year. What are people not seeing or understanding about what happens to a community infrastructure during crises like this? What don't we see?
I think this moment is incredibly personal to me, just because Cossack is my home, and seeing
Yeah.
it being threatened by wildfires is heartbreaking. Seeing people in panic, and it's just crazy. So when I think people think of wildfires, they often think of immediate danger. They think of the smoke, they think of the flames, they think of destruction. But what many people don't see is the long-term impact on our infrastructure. And I can't say that enough, but there are power systems that are strained or damaged and homes are evacuated, and sometimes people just never return to them. But essential services like water treatment plants communicate with like essential services like water treatment plants, communications and healthcare are disrupted. What's even
Yeah.
harder in many communities that are dealing with aging infrastructure and housing that wasn't built to withstand like climate extremes like such as these wildfires. In a crisis like this, those vulnerabilities are exposed and for they're just exposed, and it's not like about rebuilding, it's about building what's better for what's better. With those
Yeah.
resilience, we can do that with resilience, energy efficiency, and community self-determination at the center of everything that we do. These emergencies highlight why our work matters, especially like when it comes to like us in the trades, why investing in safe, sustainable infrastructure in indigenous communities isn't necessary, but it's urgent and important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Brandy, you worked in both residential and commercial HVAC. What are some of the biggest technical upgrades we need to prioritize in low income or indigenous housing when it comes to heating and cooling systems?
Yeah, I'm going to bounce back. You did touch on some of this already because, as you mentioned, like the grids are unreliable, right? And or they heavily rely on maybe diesel systems. Sometimes, like solar, obviously, is the way to go, and we get that battery storage out of it to help make things like more reliable that way. The other thing is you touched on it too, just firming up that building envelope, right?
Yes.
Insulation, better windows, right? There's so many
Yes.
new products out there that are easy to do, right? Just put the stuff in. And then once we tighten up that building envelope, the HVAC system does what it's supposed to do because we're not in a leaky structure anymore. We're in a tight structure, right? Obviously, there's no doubt, like I mentioned before, heat pumps are the latest and greatest, which would be, although unfortunately, this is where we would hope people would invest in Indigenous communities
Yes.
or low income communities, because the installation cost is what holds people back from heat pumps. But the payback over time, it more than compensates for that installation cost there. And then of course, once we get that building envelope tight, then we're looking at HRVs to make sure that, you know what, they're very healthy environments for the air that we breathe. I think another thing is that we should be training people in these communities to service their own equipment. That's what it's all about. You've got the equity, the efficiency, and then that resilience, right? That they can take care of their own systems. For people to go in, install systems like this, it doesn't take much. A weekend it would take to teach people how to service their own heat pump systems. And you could have community leaders then start to take over control over people doing the work on these systems, which then keeps everyone independent and they have their sovereignty, which all of us want that at the end of the day too. Right. So those are some of the things I think where you've already touched on some of that. And obviously it just sounds to me like it's so easy. Like, why aren't we doing that? Yeah. So we keep hearing about the need, Nikki, for just transitions. In your work, what does a practical just transition look like? And what would it mean for tradespeople to be in the center of that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
sure. Yeah, that's okay. We keep hearing about the need for just transitions. So, in your work, what does a practical just transition look like? And what would it mean for tradespeople to be centered in that?
I think that just transition is a buzzword. It's about making sure no one is left behind as we move forward
Yeah,
toward cleaner and more sustainable energy systems. So just like in my work, a practical transition could mean investing in Indigenous communities so that they have the training and tools, like what you just said, the opportunity to be part of the change. It's ensuring that the tradespeople, especially those from unrepresented backgrounds such as like Indigenous communities, that we have access to stable and meaningful work in a green economy. By centering tradespeople, it means also like involving us from the beginning, where we're
yeah,
included in the planning and the policy and then in the projects as well. Just having that representation in there as well. Obviously, we're the ones installing solar panels, upgrading electrical systems, and we're building efficient homes. So our voices and skills and experience need to shape how this transition unfolds. And it's not just about switching energy sources, but it's about creating equitable ownership and opportunity in the process as well. So yeah, that's the transition that we possibly need.
I
Yeah.
totally agree with that.
Okay. If policymakers or employers are listening, what is the one thing they could do tomorrow to support apprentices and accelerate the workforce equity in this clean energy moment?
Yeah, for me, it's all about employer education. That's where we've got this, we need to build that bridge. So there's no lack of interest in the trades for any group, equity deserving or not. But when it comes to an equity deserving group, for me, what hits me where the policies have to change is that the employers need to start investing in some education. And that's how do we make this transition? How do I integrate into my male populated team right now? Maybe it's women or other equity deserving groups, people of color, whatever that might look like for them. And it's so easy for them to just look the other
Yes.
way. And they
Yes.
don't even sometimes give that person an opportunity. We need to address that unconscious bias, and we do that through education. I've long since let go of the finger pointing and saying, you know
Uh,
what, it's your fault that it sucks. Because sometimes you've got to be like, That's the way it's always been. And it sounds terrible to say, but some people just don't know any better until you educate people on that. So I believe forward thinking employers will be at the forefront of the movement. They will reap the initial benefits of bringing in underrepresented groups. And I don't know an employer that's had a woman, and I'm sure nor do you, Nikki, for someone you worked for. One of my best compliments is, you know what, she's the best guy I have in the shop. And you know what, we tend to outperform. So for me, it starts with education and employer support. So if employers aren't able to invest in that education, then policymakers need to bring something into effect to provide employers with some type of education. And it doesn't just stop there. I really think enforcement is another big thing. It's
Yes.
great to put these policies or procedures in place, but what if there's no enforcement? And unfortunately, I've lived in a world for 20 years with companies with stellar HR policies, but when there's no enforcement, those policies don't mean anything at all. So that's where I would take it.
Yes, and I'm with you 100% on that
Yeah.
answer that you just provided, and I can't say that enough. Like just having guaranteed pay and inclusivity on the job training for apprentices so that they don't drop out because of lack of
Yeah.
interest or skill, but because they can't afford to wait for placements or facing barriers of like hostility and
Yeah.
non-inclusive work environments. I think that by providing apprentices supports like wraparound supports with cultural safety and clear pathways to certification is one of the major things. If they were really serious about equity and clean transitions, I think that they need to make sure that the next generation of tradespeople can not only enter the workforce but thrive in it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not about surviving, it's about
Yeah,
thriving.
yeah,
And
it's
and
100%.
yeah. And that's where they need to start making those changes. Yeah. And you nailed it too. Like it's second to third year, we start to see apprentices drop out. And that is like 100%, like you just said, Nikki, like lack of support, right?
Yeah.
There's lack of the support and there's nobody for them to go to for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, from my experience, like I've done that where like I left and I came back. So
Yeah.
it was because of like the lack of support that I had. But now that I have this like unwavering support, this like support system that's behind me that's pushing me to go back and get my red seal because they need more of them in my community or even surrounding communities. And just by seeing me as an Indigenous woman, where I'm just hoping that more women and girls decide to take this path as well. Not even just electrical, but like the trades. Because living up north, there's not that much people who are certified. Hopefully, that helps us increasing the numbers as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. It's increasing like the entry and then the retention, right? That's the
Yes,
second part
correct.
of it. Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
second part of it. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Uh,
Did I miss a question or
No,
are we,
we
are we at Q&A?
yeah, we're at Q&A now.
Okay.
We're absolutely at Q&A. You guys nailed it. So the chat is chatting, and I'm going to go with the first question that we have here from Irving. What do you think is the urgent response to be ready for what's coming out of the Canadian Economy Act, of the Canada Economy Act with major projects with First Nations involvement? Will First Nations trades be ready? So I'll repeat that question again. What do you think is the urgent response that needs to be ready for what's coming out with the Canada Economy Act in terms of major projects with First Nations involvement? Will First Nations trades be ready?
Nikki?
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was directed to me, and then I actually don't have I don't really have that much of a great answer for this. But I think that I I don't know, Natasha, because I can't really
Well,
grasp.
what do you think, Nikki? In your experience where you are now, is there a shortage of tradespeople
Oh
right now?
yes, 100% there's like a shortage.
Yeah.
It's like we're able to like provide these jobs for people. It's just retaining them, like what we said before, and then helping them get certified in these trades. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what the Canada Economy
I
Act.
know that's what threw me off.
I'm not well versed in that either. So if someone gave me an overview of that, we might be able to provide more
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, I can give you an overview right now because Lee
Sure.
just put one in. So ask it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Let's do
so
it.
let's break this down a little bit more so we understand the
Yeah.
question. Canada is embarking on big, quote unquote, nation building projects. Historically, these kinds of initiatives have left people behind. especially First Nations communities, and have contributed to our current crisis of climate change and biodiversity loss. In your experience and expertise, what are some of the actions you want to see all levels of leadership prioritize in this moment within these nation building projects? And I think you guys also broke some of this down
Yeah.
within the webinar as well. But if you want to do a little bit of overview of what you guys see are some important actions to take on all levels of leadership to prioritize this.
I'll let Nikki finish up, but I'll put my quick 2 cents in. Nikki touched on it too, right? They should be involved at all levels.
That's
So they need to be involved at all levels, and not only just be involved in the building and the project, but the aftermath of that project so that they can maintain these systems and continue to grow and evolve these systems as the community demands. So I think just making sure that not like one person is involved. We're talking like this should be like a 50-50 split, if not more heavily based on the community side. What do you think, Nikki?
I think that everyone needs to be accountable, and reconciliation and action is one of the major things that I think should happen. Because now that we're entering this new era of nation building, just having these like clean energy corridors and critical housing infrastructure and transformations that are happening now, I think that we just have to remember that there was these past nation building projects that often excluded First Nation voices. They violated not just our people but our rights, and it caused harm to our communities. But I think this time could be different. I'm
Yeah.
hoping anyways it could be different. But I think that by having led discussions and at every stage is one of the most important things. Just talking to everybody, making sure that everyone has information about the projects, on just having a voice in it. And also, I think that it could be best if for these companies to, or even the government to have invest in the workforce, and then the readiness programs that they could possibly have in the communities. So having community-based training centers or
Yeah.
apprenticeships that are available during construction um
Yeah.
would be great. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's
Yeah. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And so while
Yeah.
construction is happening all around us and we're looking at all of this, where are the opportunities for people to sign up and be able to get these skills? And where are the training programs that you can do a follow-up with right after? Is there a little package that we can give people? Is there a little QR code
Yeah.
creative, right? About how we bring people in. And your question just disappeared, Irving, for a second, but just to go back to it, if we're looking at, if you were asking, will First Nations trades be ready? So I think what you're saying is, will there be a workforce of trades from First Nations communities, of tradespeople? Are we ready? The answer is no.
No.
The answer
Yeah.
is, the answer
No.
is no, simply because, and I'll say this very quickly, we not having enough HVAC people, not having enough electricians, this is a national wide issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
It's even a continental issue across North America here. So if it's difficult in urban areas or more populated areas, then you can imagine how difficult it is in communities in the north, in communities that are low income, from equity seeking communities, right? You can just, the fraction just goes like this. So I just wanted to add that. Let's go to the next question, guys, which kind of follows up with that. Is training of Indigenous HVAC technicians helping the installations of heat pumps in remote communities? So he wants to know, David wants to know, is this happening? Because he believes, just like you guys, a local resident tech should be so valuable in a location that would have to
That's
fly
true.
a tech.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah. I don't know. As to my knowledge, Nikki, I like you would know better than me. I'm not in the communities. Do you guys have local HVAC technicians up there? Indigenous HVAC
No,
technicians?
no,
No.
no, because like our electricians are also, they tend to train them in HVAC as well, which is unfortunate because that you guys have like such a tough trade, and I applaud that 100%. Like me being a electrician, I find that HVAC is like a little tough, but it's we can learn, and I think it would be more valuable to have a community based, especially from the community, so that the skills are like just staying within the community as well. Yeah.
I think that too, Nikki, like to add to what you're saying about training electricians as HVAC, the other thing that would be hopeful for the future is that you could just train people on specific systems, right? So you don't need to be a 313 journey person. Manufacturers actually offer equipment specific training. So how great would that be if they were going to install, like if one manufacturer was going to, York was going to bring in heat pumps or whatever the brand was, they could do actually, on-site specific training, whether that's like a week long of training, followed up maybe a week in person, and they do some virtual courses online and then they write a test. They could be manufacturer certified just to work on that equipment. Being that there's no hydrocarbons attached to a heat pump, it makes that a lot easier for communities to do. But again, someone needs to invest in that, right? We need that investment. We need someone in to do that for the community.
Yeah. And it's just sometimes it's having those online courses that some people aren't fortunate enough to also be provided with
Yeah.
internet access.
Yeah.
Which is like another big problem that that most communities, remote communities are having as well. Yeah. I think that just also it would be nice to have that online training for the community. But I think that because I believe that the indigenous people thrive more when it comes to on like hands-on like me. I'm one of those people who thrive on hands-on learning, so I would probably suggest training opportunities in the community as well. So
Yeah.
just for other like kids and youth to see these people getting trained, and it's like what they see and then what they want to become later on in life.
Yeah.
Hands-on learning is number one. And as an
Yeah.
educator for a while, and I think Brandi, you can speak to this as well, there's nothing that really can replicate that, right?
No, we do a lot of hybrid because there is, unfortunately, like Nikki said, it's a bit of a different grind for each back. So we do have a bit of theory behind the trade. And what we love to do is with the hybrids is we do a little bit of theory. And then that's where someone comes in for a week and you put all that to practice, right? And it really helps to marry the two together. And unfortunately, sometimes it's just based on a time constraint as well. But by all means, if we have opportunities to get instructors in classrooms or in community centers or right on a site where they have the equipment and you get the right people in the room, that's the best way to deliver any kind of training for sure.
Absolutely. Let's head to our next question. There's questions in the chat and the Q&A. So let's go to the Q&A. Mia says, what in your experience has been the best initiative / policy you've seen to make women feel safer entering the trades workforce? For either of you.
Yeah, Brandi, you want to start it off?
I know that the PPE just came out not too long ago requiring women's PPE. Most women that get injured on the job is because of ill-fitting PPE. I believe, I don't know, I want to say the stats 1 in 5, but I think it's actually higher than that for female injuries. It's because their PPE doesn't fit well. So I would say that's one. But again, I'm going to go back to, although we've had some good policies put in place, I'm still going to be the one that says, where's the enforcement? And I realize that comes down to they don't have people to do the enforcement. But yeah, for me, it's PPE, I would say, is one of the latest and greatest, that I give that one a total thumbs up. We need more of that. What about you, Nikki?
I don't know. I think that enforcing her anti-harassment policies is like one of the policies I think that should be built on job site contracts, especially. And then PPE is like one of the best things. And just building, I think having programs also like yours and like all these pilot projects to create workplace like respectful groups that provide them hands-on training as well. Because I think that what you're doing is very valuable, and it's letting women have this welcome group and where they can hear from multiple different women about hearing their experiences and knowing what and what not to do on site. So yeah, I think yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I'd say we definitely need a little more work on the policies.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah,
anybody's
yeah.
selling it, there's not
Yeah.
enough. I think we can all agree. There's not enough on
Yeah.
either side. Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Brandi, do you want to talk a little bit about the work that you do with your organization?
Yeah, so it's still a young organization, and so it's not my full-time job yet, but I look forward to one day that being it. So what we started with was we started with some awareness campaigns 2 years ago, which was really great. I have something called Truth of the Trades. So women actually and equity deserving groups could follow an anonymous link. Even some of my friends submitted stories and I didn't know who they were from. And so they actually submit their stories and I narrated it and posted videos talking. And it was me talking about their experience, which for the most part were negative experiences, which then created this really nice ripple effect because I had a lot of employers reaching out saying, I didn't think those things happened anymore. I thought that was like way back in the day. And I'm telling stories about things that happened to somebody like last week. So we started with this awareness campaign with Fair Trades Toolbox, where we did the truth of the trades. And then we started highlighting women every Friday on Fair Trades Fridays, where we're highlighting women that are working in the field, which I am loving that series. It's really rolled into something beautiful. And then the goal moving forward is a lot more of employer engagement. So we want to help employers onboard women into their or equity deserving groups into their male populated teams so that it's actually a good transition. A seamless transition is what we hope for both parties involved. As Nikki probably knows as well, me being the only female and the first female in the door, my first responsibility every day is to make sure all of my male counterparts feel good about themselves. So before I get to go fix a piece of HVAC equipment, I have to make sure Brad's okay with me being in the room and Paul's okay with me being in the room. And you know what? Those types of things are lived experiences that I've had for 2 decades now. It's not changed. We are looking for that employer education piece. We help with onboarding, we help with mentoring, and then we help with that life cycle of labor. So we want to help employers manage that life cycle. So you're bringing people in as maybe a laborer or a first year apprentice. When you become licensed, it's not magic. Like you don't write your C of Q one day and become a journey person and know everything that somebody knows that's been licensed for 10 years, right? So as a newly licensed journey person, you're still on this journey, but then you get your senior journey persons out there. And with that, you know what? They get some specialty training. And that's the pocket where we want to start seeing employers shift and getting those senior journey persons to start passing down that knowledge. And we really are trying to approach this with Fair Trades Toolbox of really taking the gender out of it. We want people not to check a diversity box. We want them to hire the best human for the job. But that also means they do have to address their unconscious biases. And we do that through education. So we've put together I think it's a really nice little menu is what I like to call it. So whether the employer has 5 employees or 500 employees, we can tailor our program to fit. And it's through that education that we really hope to build these teams where it's not just me, I'm the only female on the team. I'd like to see them build where they're no longer talking about, I have 2 women. They just say, we have a great team. We love what we're doing here with our team. And that's going to take some time, but that's really what we're in it for. I like to say my greatest talent is having really uncomfortable conversations with people that don't want to talk about stuff like that. And we have to have these uncomfortable conversations. I have to ask, why don't you want to hire a woman or an equity deserving group? Like, why? I want you to just tell me why I'm not recording it. No one's going to come back on you. And then let's move forward from there and try to mend that fence. Let's do that. So that's really in a holistic way that we're trying to do something like that. And it's definitely still a journey, which I think is really fun. I'm enjoying the challenge of it all. And you know what? One day, hopefully, these conversations between tradeswomen like Nikki and they'll be a thing of the past. And I look forward to that. I look forward to no more women's events. I look forward to it just being a skilled trades event, and we all go, right? And I'm sure, Nikki, you can agree too, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I hope to see it, like you said, maybe in 10 years. I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lori has a question. What about promoting funding the National Youth Climate Corps, which would provide training to 30 and under group at living wages in clean energy and other climate solutions jobs? She says the YCCBC has found that many participants then go on to apprenticeships to get their red seal. Are you guys aware of this program? And can you speak to this at all?
No, I wasn't aware, but it sounds amazing.
It does totally sound amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds like something that'd be great to have.
Yes,
I'm
David
gonna look
says
into
yes to the
that.
Climate Corps. Yeah. Funding the
Yeah.
National Youth Climate Corps, which provides
Yeah.
training to 30 and under group at living wages in clean energy and other climate solutions jobs. So thank you, Lori. That's
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, these
Yeah,
discos
thank
are
you.
awesome. We're learning all the time. Yes, we bring in the experts to talk about certain things, but experts, of course, they can't have knowledge across every single part of this. So that's fantastic. Thank you for that. I think Nikki was over here multitasking, talking about the best solar batteries. So hopefully that question got answered. That is amazing. Lori says we're asking the federal government to fund 5 billion. And
Oh, that's amazing.
she's also put a link in the chat for us panelists that want to check that out, and as
Yes.
well for those attendees. Thank you guys so much. There's one more question, but I just want to, there's a lot of hearts, there's a lot of emojis that are happening right now. And I just want to say a comment from Tracy that says, thanks, Nikki and Brandi, such important work being done. Congratulations on your accomplishments. This was a phenomenal session today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Abby also says, typically proposals should include on-site training, exclamation mark, take
Yeah,
it
it
and write it in.
should include on-site training, but I've been part of projects that it those tenders obviously didn't involve that, unfortunately. Like where they say, oh, hire like 15%, have your staff have 15% from this community, and then like me showing up and then I'm filling in that one person filling in that 15%, which is unfortunate. And I think that just sometimes that's just a joke. Just because I have prior like training from it, they somehow made that like they made sure that filled in the box. And
Yeah.
yeah, they like that was their contribution, which is what happens a lot in like major projects. And I think it's just unfair sometimes.
Write it into those tenders.
Yeah, that they say it's written in those tenders, but that
Mhm.
they go and scout out some people who are already in that skilled trade, and then they make it that. Uh,
Yeah.
So I have that firsthand experience of being that little part of that tender, so that they meet their quota.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Deanna says the AHMA is the organization that she works for. And she goes, we have a youth cohort every summer that provides intros to trades via retrofitting
Wow,
their cabins. BCIT is a great partner in this, and it's done in Squamish with lots of support.
that's amazing.
That's amazing.
Big up
That's
to you,
amazing.
Deanna. That's awesome. And we will absolutely check out more of that work as well. We have one more question from Irving here. He puts, just transition, question mark. Is getting trade certification and the hours required still an impediment?
For the trade that I am, it's not getting the hours that's an impediment, that's for sure. For us, it's getting people signed up as apprentices,
Yes.
and it's getting employers to take on those people that want to be apprentices. Let's remember, to be a first year apprentice, you need zero experience. You need to want to show up to work and be willing to learn. That's all you got to do. And I'm sure Nikki can attest, like
Yeah,
I had a
100%.
university, I started knocking on doors with a university degree and willingness to work, and I was apparently underqualified. I found a back door in for myself, but even my students, out of 100 students, I get about 5 females, very few equity deserving groups through the other 95 students. And I'll tell you, that's our hardest placements. And out of my 5, I might be able to get 2. I might be able to get 2 into an employer. The other thing is employers will keep people on. I talk to people all the time. They've been working for a year. They're not signed up yet.
Yeah.
They don't, some of them don't even know they have to ask to be signed up. If you're not signed with the Ministry of Labor and Apprenticeship, your hours aren't counting. You're not going to get a notification to go to trade school. So that's my experience. I don't know about you, Nikki, but mine
Yeah,
is more,
no.
it's getting the apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was a similar thing where I have from my experience, I didn't even realize that I wasn't signed up from my
Yeah.
experience. So then I asked, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, you didn't fill out that form." And then me being a greenie and like fresh to like just the trade itself, I didn't even know I had to do that because nobody told me.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I switched from a 306, I was a plumbing apprentice, a 306A, third year apprentice, when I switched to my 313A, and they still made me wait 10 months to sign me up as a 313A. I got no credit for my 306 hours, which I understood because they said I had to be a journey person to get hours credited. But I'm telling you, they will make it as hard as they can for you in hopes that actually it'll just go away.
Yeah.
So it's like you just got to be the one that I literally just said. That's why I say I kill them with kindness. I just keep showing up with a stupid smile on my face, and eventually they realize I'm not going anywhere. So,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't be that hard, Nikki. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be that hard.
It shouldn't be that hard. It should it like what you said, it shouldn't be that hard.
No,
Unfortunately, it
it
happens
is.
though. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
That's incredible, guys. I think we're basically up to our time. I will quickly say this
Yeah.
as a joke, but it's not a joke, right? Which is that to make this just transition, this equitable transition happen, to fill these hundreds and thousands of jobs that are needed by 2030 and 2040, there are simply not enough heterosexual white men to make this job happen. Okay, so the math is
Exactly.
not mathing, people, and we have to be a lot more creative. And not to say that Nikki and Brandi need to do any more work. They're doing the work, but it's like, how do we support the work that you're doing better to alleviate these boundaries that are going on? If we need more people and we need more equity seeking communities to make this just transition happen, we need plumbers, we need HVAC people, we need electricians. We're nowhere without you guys. Why is it still so hard for a high school student
Yeah.
to get this? Like, how many people are going to be like Brandi and Nikki and come in and smile, or leave the trades and come back to the trades and now pursue your red seal so you can help your own community? You guys are obviously not the norm. That's why you guys are trailblazers.
No.
We have a big job ahead of us. I can't thank you enough. I want to give you a huge, big round of virtual
you.
applause. This has been an electric conversation today, a really important one. And Nick Schauder says, very motivating and inspiring. Thank you both for your valuable time. You're
Welcome.
both, yeah, there's so many comments like that. It's just going off. But I'd love if you guys could just have your last comment as we leave today.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to say is it really is all about community and momentum. And I feel
Yes.
like for the very first time, we are all of us here and then some. We are the right people in the right place at the right time. And
Yes.
I really feel if there's one moment in time that we just got to keep pushing, it is right now. I feel that we can actually have an impact because we're in this perfect storm with the skilled trades labor shortage. As
Yeah.
Natasha said, the math isn't mathing. What
Yeah.
about you, Nick?
I just want to say happy Indigenous Day to the people, to my fellow Indigenous people that are watching.
Yes.
Happy Indigenous Day. We're here. We're not going anywhere. And then for the trades, we're here. We're not going anywhere as well. And especially for
Yeah.
women in trades as well. I just want to, hopefully one day we're in a equitable and like we're in a, I don't know how to say this, but or we're gonna have an equal workforce one day. We're rather gonna respect each other. So I think that it's gonna get better eventually. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the fight that we're fighting right now is so that we won't have to have an event like this 10 years from now, right? And
That's right.
thank you guys so much for your work.
Thank you.
Everyone for attending. Have an amazing, blessed Friday, and we'll see you guys. Actually, this is our last session for the summer, but we'll be starting again in the fall. So we'll see you all soon.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.